A little girl curled up on a cold park bench clutching a worn-out teddy bear as if it could shield her from the world. Then a lonely millionaire stopped, knelt beside her and gently asked, "Why are you sleeping here, sweetheart?" The girls whispered. Reply did not just pull back the curtain on society's darkest truths. It changed his life forever. The city of Chicago gleamed beneath its winter coat, every street and avenue stitched with garlands of light and ribbons of sound on Christmas Eve. The world shimmered with a kind of hope, the kind Andrew Whitaker once believed in. Now he watched it all from behind the glass of a hired car, the warmth of the interior. Nothing but a dull contrast to the ice that had settled in his chest. He adjusted, his cufflinks by rote feigning interest as the driver weaved through the glimmering chaos of Michigan Avenue. It was all a performance, really a ritual he performed each December, as though the right suit or the right donation could bridge the gap between his life and the lives of those whose laughter spilled out into the frozen night. 3 years ago, Andrew's life had been loud with joy. There had been little shoes at the door, colored pencil marks on white walls, a giggle that trailed behind him like a comet. Now that was all memory. His only daughter, Lily, lost to a winter virus so sudden and brutal. He still woke up reaching for her in the night. The grief had not lessened. If anything, the ache had crystallized sharp and ever. Present especially on nights like this tonight, the city was a living postcard, shoppers bustling under golden street lamps, children in puffy red coats racing past the glowing windows of Marshall Fields. Each sight was a gentle cut, the bright Christmas. Lights slid across the car windows, but they could not melt the cold in Andrew's heart. Every laugh, every Christmas tune was a knife. Twisting an old wound, he was invited to the annual Whitaker Foundation Holiday Gala, a tradition he now endured out of obligation to donors and employees, not for joy. Even the applause for his annual speech rang hollow, echoing in the vast ballroom where every smile felt borrowed. It was nearly 10 when he slipped away, giving a polite nod to the event coordinator and handing his valet ticket to the board attendant. He could not stand it, the endless parade of well-wishers, the insincere declarations of holiday cheer. He walked instead, his footsteps muffled by the snow now falling in earnest, his mind drifting. Further from the party, and closer to the rawness that lived under his skin, it was in that quiet far from the sound of music and brittle laughter that Andrew saw her. He almost walked right by mind, occupied with the ache of memory. But something, a flicker of red, the faintest movement caught his peripheral vision. There, huddled on a weathered park bench beneath a halo of blue Christmas bulbs, was a child. She could not have been more than 6 or 7, her small form dwarfed by a puffy coat. 2 sizes too large in her arms, a battered teddy bear. Its fur rubbed away in places, one button eye hanging by a thread. He stopped, breath catching in his throat for a heartbeat. The world fell away the way she hugged that bear. It was as if his own daughter had returned from the shadows, all innocence and trust. A tiny island of hope in a sea of cold. His chest tightened. A strange panic part. Paternal part. Self-preserving. He knew what it was to lose a child, and every part of him recoiled. From even the suggestion of another story ending badly. He hesitated, the logical part of him whispering, "Keep walking. It is not your problem. Someone else will help." But then she shifted, drawing her knees up tighter to her chest, and Andrew's resolve shattered. His feet moved before his brain could catch up. He crouched down beside the bench, careful not to frighten her up close. She looked even smaller, cheeks blotched red by the cold lips, chapped and raw. The city was all but silent here. Only the distant sound of a train horn and the soft rush of tires on slush. The girl barely blinked eyes, glassy arms clutching that bear with the strength of a drowning swimmer. "Hey there," Andrew said softly, his breath fogging in the cold. "Are you all right?" She did not answer. He could see her shivering, tiny shoulders jerking beneath the oversized coat. His own hands were numb now, but he ignored it. He reached into his pocket for a handkerchief, not knowing what else to do. "Are you waiting for?" Someone he tried again, voice gentler than he remembered it could be. Her eyes flickered toward him, pupils huge in the moonlight. For a long moment, he thought she might not speak at all. Then so softly he almost missed it. She whispered, "I am waiting for my mommy," she said not to move. The words hit Andrew so hard, it took his breath away. In that instant, memory crashed over him the last time he held Lily's hand in the hospital, promising her he would always come back, that she would never have to be alone. But he had not been able to keep that promise. The guilt, the sense of having failed her had never faded, and now here was another child abandoned on Christmas Eve, trusting in the hope that someone would return for her. He cleared his throat, fighting the tightness there. "How long have you been waiting?" he asked. Though he already feared the answer, she shrugged her head. Dropping lower a while, Mommy said she would be right back. Andrew scanned the park. No adults, no sign of anyone. Searching only the wind rising, now blowing flakes of snow across the empty playground and the frozen pond beyond. He wanted to ask more, but her small body began to tremble violently without thinking. He slipped out of his overcoat and draped it over her, tucking it tight around her legs and arms. Her eyes widened, but she did not pull away. In fact, she seemed to shrink into the warmth, her breath coming in quick, foggy bursts. "You are freezing," Andrew murmured, trying to keep his voice steady. "Let us get you somewhere warm. Okay for a moment?" She did not respond. He could see the fear in her eyes, the way her fingers curled even tighter around the teddy bear. He had seen that look before. The look of a child on the edge, clinging to what little safety they had left in a world that did not care. But as the wind picked up and the snow began to swirl harder, she finally nodded just once. Just enough. He stood carefully, gathering her into his arms. She weighed almost nothing. A wisp of a child, all bones and hope and desperate trust. He cradled her close, feeling. Her shivers racked through him. The world seemed to narrow to the crunch of his shoes on the snow, and the tiny heartbeat he could feel against his chest as he carried her back toward Michigan Avenue. Andrew felt something shift, a faint spark in the darkness, a memory of love, of what it meant to protect, to matter, to be needed. He did not know what tomorrow would bring, or if he was strong enough to try again. But tonight, beneath the indifferent light of Chicago, as the snow fell and the world spun on, Andrew Whitaker carried a child out of the cold, and with each step the promise he had broken years ago began at last to heal.